Hey there everybody, Eric from OUTERLIMITLESS coming at you today with another video. Now today is a cold winter day, starting really to get some wintry mix out there and kind of gross. Now I'm just chilling out watching some football, getting down to work in the studio and hanging out with my gear. And the problem I have with hanging out with my gear is I just want to use it. Now today I'm sitting here with my Zoni 59 sheath for my TFK T17. This has barely been used, and in fact I'm thinking I kind of need to get this ready for good solid field use. So I wanted to sort of weatherproof it with some sort of either a wax or a sealant or something like that. And I kept thinking, and I'm like, you know what? It's been a while since I've modified something. It's been a while since I've added my own touch or flair to something. And even on the channel, I mean, I've done a lot where stripping knives or little modifications to my knives and things like that. But today, I think I'm gonna mess around with my sheath. Now, when I got this, it is a light brown. Well, it's kind of a medium brown actually. But for me, I wanted maybe just a little bit darker. Now, this was dyed with a nice high quality dye, but unfortunately, I don't have any dye like that. But what I do have is a number of different colors of polishes. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm hoping I don't completely trash my sheath. I'm willing to try. But what I'm gonna do is sit here, enjoy some coffee. So I got myself a nice hot coffee. I'm watching some football, I'm hanging out, and I am going to sort of change the color of this. And then by the end, I'm hoping I can lock in all the color by applying a good solid coating of wax. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the idea here is I'm gonna kind of change the overall look and feel and tone of this and then seal everything in with the wax. Now, regardless, the wax is gonna give me a good quality, durable leather. I'm not gonna hurt the leather. It's just a matter of how it looks. So I'm willing to try, I'm willing to experiment, and at the end of the day, it's just gonna be some fun. Now, if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. So as I mentioned, getting into this, I am going to be basically trying to change the color of my sheath. So I have black, I have gray, and I have brown polish. And then on top of that, I'm gonna seal it all in with this wax. So hoping for the best here, but the first thing I need to do is basically like take everything apart. So I'm just gonna pop off all these sort of loose components, get it to the point where I have everything sort of prepared and ready to go. And from there, we will see exactly what happens. It's definitely going to be an experiment. Now the kids are hanging out today. They're all having a good time on this nice chilly day. So everybody's in a good mood. You know, it's the holiday season and just a great time of year. But because it's getting colder, you tend to try to find interesting things to do inside. So that's exactly what I have going on here. Just messing around, playing with my gear, playing with my equipment, and this will definitely be fun. All right, so the components I have here, basically I have the dangler, I have the scout style straps, and then I have my Altoids pouch. So all separate little pieces here, all of which need to be addressed. But the main thing for me is going to be starting with the sheath itself. So I think what I'm gonna do is figure out what my color palette's going to be. Now, I think I'm pretty much gonna try to almost like camouflage this. So dabbing the different colors, kind of blending them together, darkening everything, maybe go a little darker towards the edges. This already has dark black on the edges by design. I'll do the front and back, and we'll see how it comes out. So before I get started, just gonna get a little bit of cardboard to put it down, just so I don't make a mess all over the place. And from there, we'll rock and roll. All right, so again, I have a few different colors. Here I got the black. Let's see what happens here. I'm just gonna daub it on with this. This is gonna be a mess, but actually I have a great idea, which is if I use my T17 here as a handle, it'll kind of help me maneuver. Now, black G10 on my prototype, to be honest, if I get a little bit on there, I don't really care, but let's see what happens. So, just kind of working some of this color. Again, gonna get some darker color right on the edges, just to kind of touch that up. So, I'm gonna start just like that. And I think I'll only work up the sides and kind of up in here. And now, again, going for sort of a little bit of a camo look here. So we'll just kind of daub some of that on and see what happens. Kind of even it out a bit. Now by the end of this, I'm basically going to polish and smooth and blend all of this together. So I'm going to do the same thing down here. Nice and heavy on the bottom. People are probably cringing at this exact moment, but hey, you know what? No pain, no gain. You don't try, you don't win. And I am definitely one to try. I've tried my whole life, and to be honest with you, pretty much generally pull off most things I try. At least semi-decent. So, let's just leave that there for a sec. Kind of dabbing that on. Going for that sort of camo look. Certainly nothing perfect here. Try to get it consistent throughout. And that's fairly good through here. Now I need to work up on the handle and the strap and get that consistent too. And as long as I don't run out, I will do the other components at the very end. The problem I have is now I can't get under my handle there, but I'll work that out eventually. Let's see. Maybe I do need to do that now. Knew this was going to make a mess. Got some on the hardware. I'll try to clean all that up by the end. That was kind of one thing I wanted to avoid and I just wasn't paying attention. So that was on me. And for the black, I'd say that's pretty good to start. Looks like a mess, doesn't it? Okay, so that's the black for now. Let's get into the brown, which the brown's gonna need a little bit of love here. I don't have too much of this left. Yeah, the brown is not the best, but we'll use this to kind of even everything out, kind of solidify this base. Oh, I can see you all right now freaking out. Look at how bad that looks. Look at how bad it looks. Look how bad that looks. I love it. Again, don't be afraid. Stay the course. You just go with it and do it. Never quit. And just work until it's done. Figure it out and refine it, fine tune it, tweak it until you're happy. Getting all these little nooks and crannies. So that's obviously some little tough spots where everything's been fabricated together, but it's alright. Just darkening all this up. Looks like hell right now, doesn't it? I love it. It's exciting to me, actually. Because I love when something looks like it's going to be a mess, and by the end of it, it comes out great. So I would say, apart from my hands getting covered in polish at this point, that we're good for this brown for the moment. Now, this gray. Let us see. Now for the gray, unfortunately at this point I don't have another brush, but I'll just make it work. So I'm going to add some sort of contrasting highlights in spots and just kind of daub it in there. And I think when it's all said and done, just kind of trying to stay away from those edges a little bit. But when it's all said and done, I'm hoping all this will kind of blend together. This is not the best tool for this. Spread this around. I'd say let's leave that for now. So now that I've done the main sheath, looks like hell, but I'm okay with it. We're going to let that sit and hopefully just take a little bit. And while we're at it, I'm going to keep moving on with all the rest of the straps. So working off camera, I'm going to continue on this, get all of these prepared, and then I'll go to the next step. Alright, so now I have prepped all these. Now they look like hell. Cleaned up a little bit. Got rid of the canisters and all that stuff. Now what I'm going to do is basically start to brush all of these. So using one of these bristle brushes, I'm going to take this, I'm going to blend it all in, kind of even out the overall color, and then we'll see where we're at. Alright, so as I mentioned, just getting on it now with this brush. And I'm just going to smooth everything out. Now I'm going to work this for a while. This is not going to be a quick process. Basically going to take all this and brush it all in, try to smooth everything out, which at that point should start to expose a little bit of that original brown from the underside and kind of blend everything in. Now I'm not sure how it's going to come out, but like I said, the only way to find out is through doing it. So I'm going to sit here for a while, work this entire thing out, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look. So I'm partway through blending this in, and it's coming out pretty good. But what I want to do is just get a nice little heat gun on here, going easy, just to warm it up a bit. And what that does is it kind of opens the pores of the leather a bit. This stuff's kind of waxy. And as you do that, kind of helps it to sort of sit into the leather a little bit better. So I'm going to just kind of heat this up just a little bit. Get it so that this stuff just becomes a little bit liquefied and sits into the leather. And this is close. I'm very close here. But once I do this process, I'll pretty much be ready for the wax. And then I'll do the same sort of thing. Just heat this up and get the wax into the leather. But you'll see here, as I do this, just kind of getting a little bit shiny there. It's going to help me smooth all this out very nicely and just get it to take right into the leather. You see there, just as I go over this, it gets a little bit glossy. Okay, so now you'll notice that I have a reasonably even finish. Now there are these brush strokes, but there's nothing I can do about that just yet. I'm going to leave it kind of like that, and the last thing I'll do at the very end is clean up my hardware, get it back to what it should look like. But it goes from chunky, like that, to smooth, and then you can see it's nice marbled finish in there. by the end, this should all make sense. So continuing to stay the course here, and I will fix this side. All right, so that round is done. And as you can see here, that nice, shiny, kind of waxy look. I have to say that this is going as well as planned, if not even better. So what I'm going to do now is get into the next phase of this, which will be my wax phase. So getting this good and waxed and just really all sealed in. So you'll see the color now, nice and dark and rich, has some deep, deep dark shadows, couple of highlights. This is coming out very well. So again, the idea being, who cares? Just get into it, stay the course, and just be consistent. And if you stay with it, everything will work out. So at this point, you know, I've added the color. I've really richened up the color of the sheath, nice and deep, almost a mahogany look at this point. Again, with just those dark edges and the shadows, the hardware coming out reasonably clean. I still have more cleanup to do, but I'm very happy with the progress here. So like I said, at this point, I want to get into the waxing phase, but before I do, this does have just the finest little bits of maybe powder in here from working on the polish. So what I'm going to do is take a clean cloth. Now I have these Kiwi sort of polishing rags. Just get a light bit of water, just the lightest bit, damp, very lightly damp, and just touch these up. Try to get some of the streaks out of here, try to get some of the dust off, and at that point I'll be ready for wax. And so now the last main step. So what I am going to do is take this nice high quality natural beeswax and basically just melt it all over the place. So I'm gonna get this thing completely coated. It's gonna be a disaster again for a little while, but you stay the course and then you clean it up, and by the end this is going to be nice and sealed and ready for good hard field use. So again, just going to go through this off camera. No reason to show you too much. You can see what I'm doing here, just melting this into place, spreading it on. Gonna use the heat gun to easily just open the pores of the leather, make sure I get it into all crevices, and then once I get this part done, I'll polish it up and we'll go from there. So I'm just gonna keep working at it here, and we'll check in a little bit. So now, as you can see, every piece I have has been waxed. Now there's still a couple little pieces of wax here and there. What I'm gonna do is use the hot air gun, basically just melt off all the last little bits, and that'll kind of even everything out. And then I need to get into a polishing final touch. Now I know it sounds a little bit weird, but what I'm almost thinking about using is like a carnauba wax on top of this, just to kind of buff it out. I'm not sure yet, we'll see, but I might test it on the back of the sheath here just to see how it goes. But first things first, so like you can see here, there is some excess. Now if I put this on, just gonna put it on low and basically just work each one of these pieces until this dries. Now that will dry. Now I don't want to overheat the sheath. That's one thing I didn't talk about yet. Now I know there's going to be glue in all the seams, and I really don't want to like mess with that. You know, I bet you underneath these rivets it's also glued, so I don't want to go too crazy. But if I just heat this enough and kind of, you know, melt off some of the excess, you know, I might just take a clean cloth, warm that up so it'll smooth everything out, and then I'm going to get into my final polishing, and we'll get a final look at these things, but I'm getting darn close. Total time at this point has been just under an hour, so that's not too bad, and especially for a nice Sunday football project while I'm hanging out, watching a little bit of football today and just kind of chilling out, doing my thing, playing with my gear. So yeah, I mean, I'm getting there, and at the end of it I'll have a nice little sort of custom look, something that I can you know, sort of put my own little stamp on. Now as I'm doing this and talking, you can see that even where I've been sort of working this for a few seconds, it's starting to dry out, and get rid of all that excess wax. The wax is just soaking into the leather at this point. So as I mentioned, just kind of working it here, smoothing everything out, and pretty soon I will be ready to go. So at this point I could probably call this done. But I'm going to do that final coat. So what I did was basically got rid of all the excess wax just by heating it with the heat gun, wiping it off with a clean cloth. But now I'm going to do that final coat. So just to polish this a little bit, and what I think I'm going to use is actually from my car cleaning supplies. Now, if I get into here, I got a Tech Wax. That's probably the best choice. I have a final cleaner, fine cut. That's not what I'm looking for, so I don't want really any cut or anything like that. So I think what I'm gonna do is actually, as crazy as it sounds, just use a little bit of this glaze over the top and just finalize this thing. So actually I'll use my buff and then I'll polish it off, and at that point we will call that a project. So I just want to test this just a little bit on the back side here. Yeah, that's going to be nice. So same thing here, just finalizing this. Just going to give it that last little buff, little shine here. Kind of seal everything in and just smooth everything. Yeah, see, that's helping a lot to really cut through the haziness of the wax. That's going to look real nice. So that beeswax just leaving a little bit of a haze, but now using this Tech Wax, that's just going to help cut through, really give me a nice final shine. It's actually getting rid of a little bit of the tackiness too. Alright, so getting close here on reassembly, getting these snaps down into place here, just a little bit tight. Leather has, I'm not going to say shrunk, but it's nice and stiff from all the wax. There we go. Ba-boom. Adding back in now my dangler assembly. Ba-boom. Completing my little loop here. So this goes, let's see, I want it to go this way. So popping that in. And that will do it. So at this point, I am in great shape. This project is in essence complete. Getting my little tin back inside here, fitting that in, snug but perfect. And this is the stock fire steel, but I think I'm gonna up the ante with this Wayne Walker edition. Nice little upgrade here, so that should, boom, slide into place. And here, my friends, we will call that a project. All right, so there it is. Here we have the original as supplied color. So this was the original color of this sheath, but at this point I have darkened it up, deepened it up, added a little bit of some modeling in there and just sort of an antique-y kind of look. Managed to clean up everything really nice, got that hardware right back where it needed to be. That went extremely well. So now at this point, not only have I completely changed the color of this sheath, but I have also protected it from the elements with all that wax impregnated deep inside. At this point, this thing is good and ready for hard outdoor use. I am extremely excited at how this came out. I'm very happy with it. And I hope this was a little bit of an inspiration for you. You know, that's one of the things that I found is a lot of times you're nervous that you're going to ruin your stuff when you mod it. You're not. Just take your time, stay the course, have a vision, and just see it through to the end. Learn little techniques, figure things out. If you don't know how to do it, watch YouTube. And that's the joy we get from this hobby. So, all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.